Greetings, everyone. I thought I'd take a moment to talk about one of my favorite comic book artists, but I'm going to first show you something that he's also known for, and that would be the production of these highly detailed figures. And these are sent out by McFarlane Toys. Some of us remember him also as the creator of Spawn. And he also would do these like really cool splash pages and stuff like that. Some time ago, Todd sent me this, which I think is kind of cool. This would have been February 14th, 2001, I guess is when he would have mailed that out. But that's an autographed Spawn. But before that, how a lot of us knew the work of Todd McFarlane was through Spider-Man comics. And he's kind of the guy that made the webbing very different with Spider-Man. Now those chains look familiar, don't you think? Anyway, and the eyes look familiar. Anyway, but the way he did the webbing, he's also the guy that kind of like, I guess you could say, penciled out or drawn out through creation of the Venom character. And although the concept, I believe, was a fellow by the name of Randy Schuller, who came up with the idea of perhaps, you know, the symbiote costume. Anyway, oh, look at that. I haven't looked at this in quite some time. That's the lizard, of course. But yeah, this battle-damaged Spider-Man. That's really cool. So what I'm going to sort of doodle out here is just as much from memory as possible what I thought of Spider-Man. And I don't know, we'll see what we can come up with, but from what I remember, and I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit too. If it'll kind of focus on this pen, so I don't want it to be too blurry. Let's see if we can lock it down. I'm going to start off with just sort of drawing an alien head. Just like that. So nothing too serious. Pick where I want roughly the nose to be. So let's say roughly here. And I'm going to do the eyes a little bit differently. So I'm going to have like giant swoop there, another giant swoop here, and then I'm going to do an opposing sort of curve like that. Now that looks like an alien head. At least that's the way I like to sort of think about it, and of course I'll correct that after. But the way next to split up, the way the mask would go is I think of 4 quadrants basically for the top, for the brow, and then down here I think of 5 quadrants, so like from the nose to the chin, then under the cheekbones, and then the eyes are often like 2. So let's say you have one there, going to there, and then just underneath the eye here. Now, the webbing is kind of like a slouching kind of thing. They kind of curve towards the center of the face. Same with another row of them. But I think it's okay to have your own interpretation of these things. If you're not being paid to do it, it doesn't matter if you're drawing it for fun. This is something I would have like doodled a lot. That's a long neck that I just gave Spider-Man there. Anyway, so we can try to clean this up a little bit by just adding some more sort of work to it. We'll thicken out the eyes just a little bit, around the eyes I should say. I always thought it was kind of interesting that you could see Spider-Man's expressions through his eyes. His face would scrunch up. I think of all the Marvel characters, he's probably one of the most relatable. It was like basically somebody that went to school, went to find a job, worried about, you know, dating and all that kind of stuff. Kind of a regular person. And then unfortunately, he had a rogues gallery of like really bad individuals that he kept New York City safe from, and all those other kind of struggles too. So let's get out the bunny pen just for fun, and put in some red, if this will work. And of course, you don't have to do that little center nose thing. I like to do that. So yeah, well, that's basically the head of Spider-Man. Anyway, I can ramble on about this kind of stuff. He also has like two symbols on him, which is a fun marketing thing. So like the one that's on his chest, and there's kind of different versions of this, but let's see if I can kind of come up with one of them. So like one is this, ooh, that's probably a weird placement. One is one like this. Kind of like that, right? And the other, which I'm going to do kind of up here, is this weird bug on his back thing. It looks like a little bit like that. And then so these are very specific things with our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I think the last thing I'm going to try to do is see if I can doodle a pose. And this is going to be one of those like distorted body pose things, so you probably start off with pencil first. But anyway, so we'll draw Spider-Man like that. You don't have to put this kind of detail in the start. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to figure out, well, where do I want his body to be? And he's kind of elastic in a lot of ways. He's super flexible, kind of like a Cirque du Soleil kind of acrobat. So let's say he's kind of hunching a little bit. We'll put his shoulders here like this. Now what do we want to do with his body? Well, we'll have his chest, kind of rib cage, part of his abdomen. Now we want to do like a forced perspective kind of placement of his hand, let's say. Well, let's try that. This is kind of like a, I think you could have this as a typical kind of Spider-Man pose. Now, I think he would have worked with a bit of a budget too, because he struggled to make ends meet, just like, you know, a lot of us. Do we want to have it so that we have an arm back here? Well, I think for time's sake, we can have it so that, let's say, his elbow is far behind him, but you only get to see part of his left hand like that. Now this is where things could get a little awkward because, well, I don't know where I want to place his legs. So let's say something like this. We'll have him so he's twisted a little bit, and sometimes you see him with like a distorted foot, like somehow it twists around, but I mean, he's capable of that sort of thing, right? So he's super flexible. Well, we'll go a little bit with that, even though it's kind of like odd and a little bit annoying. Big toe. So that's not too complicated, right? I think that's funny. And we'll draw the little spider. So that we know who it is. I mean, obviously we know who this is. Okay, for fun, bring out the bunny pen. We'll just throw a little bit of color on it. Although that red isn't coming out as smooth as I want it to. It's a little better. Spider-Man's always been kind of like that fan favorite. And I know I've always been a fan myself. Now, bunny pen, let's go with this blue. We are. That is a rough idea of Spider-Man. We'll do some line cleanup. I'll dip this pen here again. sure that those are slightly more prevalent. So yeah, do you have a favorite character to draw? A character that I think is awesome to draw, but not necessarily super duper awesome, is Wolverine. I've always liked to draw Wolverine. I don't really like that character as much because he's well, yeah, I've probably rambled on about him before, but his main powers, I think, is his ability to survive. And of course he can go berserk. But he doesn't fly. He's not always like really good. But yeah, well anyway, well there's two Spider-Man doodles, and that's it for now, I think. We won't let this be a long video or anything like that, but just something that I've really enjoyed is Spider-Man over the years. And yeah, maybe we'll do a more serious version of this at some point in the near future. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you at some point in the near future.